Hello, I'm Simon Cotter. I'm currently Beaumaris and Menai Bridge Camera Club's Competition Secretary. This is a video tutorial I've created to help members prepare their images for the club's projected digital image PDI competitions using Photoshop Elements 10. There are also similar videos on preparing PDI images using Photoshop CS and Lightroom, which you can find on the download page of the club's website, www.bmbcc.co.uk. Now, while this tutorial is specifically intended to prepare images for Beaumaris and Menai Bridge's PDI competitions, with the possible exception of the file naming, it should also be applicable to most other UK digital projected image competitions and exhibitions. Although I've used Photoshop Elements 10 for this tutorial, it should also be applicable, I hope, to most other versions of Photoshop Elements. Now, I'm not going to go into depth into the theory behind why PDI files need to be prepared in this way. It's intended more to be a how-to tutorial. However, at the end of the video, I will show you links to where there's further information which has some of the background to things like color profiles and that sort of thing. And again, as with any sort of activities using Photoshop, there's more than one way to sort of achieve the same end result. And so these are just the methods that I use. So, what I'm going to take you through is how to ensure that the image's bit depth is 8 bits per channel, ensure it's in the sRGB color profile, resize it to a maximum of 1400 pixels in length and or 1050 pixels in height, depending on whether or not it's a landscape, a portrait or a square image. Then give the option to extend the canvas to 1400 by 1050 to fill the projected image. Then save it as a JPEG, and also the file name convention that you need to use for your files to ensure that they're projected in the correct order using the competition software that we use. I'll also show you how to put a coloured stroke around your image as well, so that you can delineate it from a black background if you want to. And I'll also show you a method of actually creating a 1400 by 1050 pixel image using the crop tool, which exactly fills the frame. And then, as I said, I'll then give you some further information and help that you can use. Okay, so moving on to Photoshop Elements 10. This is the first image that we're going to have a look at. Okay, so the first thing I want to do then is to ensure that this is in 8-bit mode. So we go to Image, Mode, and there's 8 bits per channel. If that's grayed out, it means your image is already in 8-bit per channel. This will depend on the settings for your camera, and if it's a RAW file, the RAW conversion software, as will the color profile, which we'll do in a minute. So they may already be set to produce 8-bit and sRGB, in which case you won't need to do this, but you need to check. So we'll just click that onto 8 bits per channel. So as I said, the next bit then is also then to change the color profile. Convert color profile and convert to sRGB profile. These images were produced in Lightroom, which uses something called a ProPhoto RGB profile. So we'll use the convert to sRGB profile here. Okay, so now we've done both of those. So now we get to start resizing the image. We use image again, resize, image size. Now this is a landscape format image. It is a landscape as well, but that's by the way. So what we want this to be is 1400 long on the width. Now you need to make sure that constraint proportions and resample image are both ticked, and on the drop down here you want bicubic sharper, best to reduction. You'd use bicubic smoother if you're actually expanding an image, which probably is unlikely, but normally you're going to be reducing it, so bicubic sharper. So this is, as I say, currently 4536 pixels wide and 3304 pixels high. So we'll try setting this to 1400 pixels first, which is the maximum width that you want, and that automatically, because we've got constrained proportions, puts this now at the height to 1020, which is fine. It's less than 1050. Some images, depending on the image size and what's called their aspect ratio, which is the ratio of the length to the width, may actually, if you change the width to 1400, you'll find the height exceeds 1050. If that's the case, then you need to set that height to 1050, which will mean that the width will be a bit shorter. So what that means is, in this case, because the projected image on screen is 1400 by 1050, and this is 1020. There will be a bit of space either side, at the top and the bottom, but we can deal with that in a minute. So we click OK. That resamples the image. I'll bring it, expand it up a bit. Okay, so I just said there that this image is going to have a little space either side if we did project it at 1400 by 1050. Now you can leave it as it is, and the projector should handle that and just fill in the space with black. Or if you want to make sure it does that, or use another colour, you can go to Image, Resize again, and then go to Canvas Size. So on this one, you want to change this drop down here to pixels, and you can see it tells you what the current size is. You also want to look at canvas extension color. There's white, black, grey, other colors you can pick for the color. I'd suggest black, but you can use something else if you want to. And then you change the height here to 1050. Click OK, and you see it's just added a little black strip either side to make the overall image size 1400 by 1050. We can check that by going to the resize again, having a look at image size. There we are, 1400 by 1050. Okay, so now we've got our image in the right color, in the right bit depth, right color profile, right size. All we need to do now is save it. So File, Save As. You need to choose obviously where you're going to put it. You need to change it to a JPEG, and you need to use the correct naming convention. Now, the first thing here is you need to give it your priority, which is going to be 1 to 4. This is 1 would be the image that you feel the strongest, 4 is the weakest. The reason for this is if we have too many PDI images, we will cull the lowest priority images first. So you put number 4. If you put 4, you can put up to 4 images. Number 4 would be your weakest image. So I'll make this one number 1, as it is here. Now you don't put the next thing is going to be a membership number, but between that you use a dash. Don't use a space or an underscore. Use a dash. Then your membership number. Now my membership number is 50. Now if your membership number is under 100, you need to put a leading 0 with it. So in this case, mine would be 050. The reason for that is it's the way the competition software works. It needs that in order to make sure that the images are displayed in the correct order. And then it's again dash, and I'll call this Penrose Point in the name here, so I'll just remove that. So that's it. Priority number 1, member number 50, but with a leading 0, and then the title. Then save. That'll bring up another little dialog box where you can choose the quality of the image. Maximum high, or which you got, yeah, that's just over half a megabyte, and maximum 850 kilobytes. They're okay. I'd sort of try and keep it to not much more than about a megabyte in size. Okay, so click OK, and that's done. That's that one done. Right. I'll now show you how to do the same thing with a square format and to add a border around it. Okay, so we'll go through the same things again more quickly this time. So the first thing is put it in mode 8-bit. Again, image, convert to color profile, sRGB. Then we go to image, resize, image size. Again, make sure constrain proportions, resample image, and again we want bicubic sharper. This is a square image, so it doesn't matter which one of these we do, they'll both be the same. We want to make it 1050 because the maximum dimension will be the height, and we click OK. Okay, we'll bring that up. Now, before we go to the canvas size and extend the sides either side of this to fill it, I'm going to put a stroke around it just to sort of delineate it from the black background because this is a black image. The way to do that is go to Select and select All. Now that brings up these little marching ants all the way around it. We then go to Edit, Stroke. Now I'd suggest don't do it too wide. 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels, something like that. Your location, you want to put it inside, and the color, if you come off this, you'll see a little color picker comes up, and you can put it anywhere in your image if you want to, and click, and that'll be the color. I've already done this one, so that's the color that's there. If you click on that, you'll bring up a color box, and you can choose another color if you want to. But that's the one I'm going to do, and I click OK. You can't see it at the moment because it's so thin, it's hidden by those marching ants. But if I go to Select, Deselect, you can see now we've got a nice little border of the same color as the leaf. If we now go to the image, resize, canvas size, change that to pixels, make sure it's black, and put the width to 1400. Click OK. There we go. We've now got an image that is delineated from the background by the by a little brown stroke. Okay, again, save that as a file, save as, and in this case it is image number 2 dash 050 dash black and gold, and save. Okay, now finally, if you've got a large landscape image, this doesn't work with all images, it depends on the aspect ratio, the height and the width, but if you've got an image that's big enough, you can use the crop tool to crop it to exactly 1400 by 1050, which will then fill the frame with no black either side. So use the crop tool here. This one's already set, so I'm actually going to change this and use the photo ratio and then show you how to do it. So in this one here, in the width, we select that and we go 1400 px, that's pixels, and then in this one we go 1050 px. Okay, now if I click on this, we've got the crop tool comes up, and that, wherever I crop in on that, is going to be 1400 by 1050. So we'll do this, and then we'll move this around till about there. That'll do for now. Click on the arrow, yes, bring that up, and now if I show you the image resize, image size, that's 1400 by 1050. That counts that. Now the only other thing I forgot to mention is that sometimes you may find that cropping your image or reducing the size, resizing the image, makes it a little bit softer than it was. If that's the case, then you may want to go to enhance and use one of the sharpen systems, auto sharpen, maybe unsharp mask or just sharpness. I'd probably suggest one of those two, but use that and adjust it to taste if you want to feel you need to sharpen it. Okay, all right then, so that's where we are on that. Okay, so we've gone through all of those steps. I said to you that I'd also put in the redaction of some additional information. So on our club's website, which is www.bmbcc.co.uk, there's a downloads page, and there's some guides on there. David Flitcroft's got a guide to preparing digital images for competitions, or image. I need to correct that. And there's also a guide from the Lancashire and Cheshire Photographic Union, guidelines for preparing digital image competitions, and that goes into depth about it, and it covers Lightroom, Photoshop elements. The other area to have a look at is on the links page of our website, which again there's information here on the information section, which will tell you a lot of the background to the topics we've been discussing. Okay. So, now, these are only recommendations. Feel free to play around with them, as long as at the end of the day you come up with an image that's 1400 by 1050. It's 8-bit and sRGB JPEG, and it's got the file name that meets the club's conventions. I hope you found that useful, and thank you very much for your time.